So let's do this again. So now we know how this works. We know, I'm just going to move this data set over for a second. Okay. We know that I can calculate mean, median, and mode using built-in formulas. And those formulas are for mean, average. I'm just going to select this whole column, even though there are empty columns or empty cells down below. I'm just going to select the whole column. For median, again, I'm just going to select the whole column. Mode, I'm going to use mode.molt. Oh, I never hit equals. In order to create a formula, you always have to hit the equal sign. So mode.molt. This is the one I want. All of column G. Now, there's only one mode right now, but I'm going to make a quick change. I'm going to change the data for just a second, and I'm going to say that the Mets also got 73 wins that season. And look what happens to my mode. You can see when I highlight any of the cells in there, there's this blue box that goes around the whole thing. So all of this is being generated from this one function, mode.molt. And that gives me all of these modes. So all of these have 2 values in the data set. As soon as I change this 73 back to a 77, I only have one mode. Notice it didn't really change the mean at all. I think it changed it slightly. What happened? The mean went down slightly. The median stayed exactly the same. And what do I notice about the mean and the median? I notice that they are very close together. For this data set going from 107 down to 52 to 107, for that range of values and the size of the values, 80.96667 and 81 are basically the same exact number, which tells me that this is probably a symmetric distribution. Now, I don't have to take the word of the mean and the median. I can look at the data set itself. Remember, this was number of wins by team in 2021. And this is just good review. This was number of teams. This was number of wins. The more times we look at these things, the more sense it'll make. Again, 52 to 68 wins are going to be in here, including 52, including 68. 69 to 84 is going to be here, 85 to 100, and 100 to 116. Like, why does this go up to 116? Well, the bins have to be the same width, and this is just what Excel chose, even though 107 is the max. So what happens when I go to change the number of bins, which again, if you're using Windows, you have to click on the horizontal axis numbers instead, which for me changes to something that I don't want. I have to click for a Mac, I have to click on the bar. For Windows, I have to click on the horizontal axis, and that'll give me access to change the bins. When I change the number of bins, now it goes from the min to the max and divides that equally into 4 parts, or 5 parts, or 6 parts. And in all of these, it doesn't still really look like this is symmetric data. Again, because when we choose bins in a certain way, it can make the data not look like it does. I'm looking at both the mean and the median, which are very close together, and this graph, and I know that when I look at this graph a certain way, it looks more symmetric than when I look at it other ways. I think what we ended up doing last time was we took the bin width and just made it 10. And that gave us a nice symmetric looking. There's only a factor of like 3 teams here. If I took one of these teams and put it over here, or 2 of these teams and put it over here, then we'd have a very symmetric looking distribution. And part of that is that 62 is included here instead of being included here. So this first bin has a wider range than all the other bins. So it might include more values than it should proportional to all the rest. So I'm saying symmetric, and I'm saying that because I'm kind of seeing symmetry here. And at the same time, my mean and median are right on top of each other. They are the same number. Okay? So now let's go through the same process for the at-bats. Now look at this. I created a formula for all 3 of these. And that formula said reference row or column G. Now, if I use the autofill feature, which is to take my cursor and put it over this box in the bottom right corner, and I click and I drag over, it's going to keep all the formulas the same, except instead of referencing G, it's going to reference 1 column to the right because I'm dragging it 1 column to the right. And so now I am finding the mean and the median for column H. So that's the mean for column H and the median for column H and the mode for column H. Now the mode's coming up as NA because there are no 2 teams that had exactly the same number of at-bats during the 2021 season. Now you might be thinking, okay, well this median is much smaller than that mean. It's 15 smaller, approximately, 14 smaller, approximately. However, this is on a scale of almost 5,400. So 15 out of 5,400, let's just quickly, 15 out of 5,400 is less than 0.3%. 0.3%, not 3%, 0.3%. So that's hardly any difference in the grand scheme of the data set. And so I would say that the mean and the median are also very close together for this data set. When we look at the histogram for this, and we're going to do this quickly, when we look at the histogram, again, this looks pretty symmetric. I can play around with it to make it look more symmetric. Let's just do number of bins. All of a sudden, just changing the number of bins to go from the min to the max. Wow, here we go. So now we have a lot more symmetry happening. If we change the number of bins, even better symmetry, worse, okay? But you need to make it fit what works for you. Now I'm only going from 5,200 to 5,600 here. And I'm doing that in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bins. So 5,600 minus 5,200. Oops. Not done yet. And I want to divide that by 5. It's basically 80. So I don't know why this isn't exactly 80. So I'm just going to change my bin width to be 80. All right. I'm still seeing symmetry here, and the mean and the median is confirming that. Now you might think the median's bigger, so the mean is being drawn. No, the mean is bigger, sorry. So the mean's being drawn to the right by some of these outliers. So if you had said that this is slightly skewed to the right, who am I to tell you about your art? Okay, as long as you're justifying your answer and you say this is slightly skewed to the right because the mean is bigger than the median, that's still really good statistical analysis. All right, I'll see you in the next video where we'll talk about how to find the measures of center for grouped data.